you're going to need to have is take a look at your forms. Okay, so for this, you're going to have some health declaration forms, obviously. Here we go again. Hey PCQI, what requirements apply for preventing microbial contamination from sick or infected personnel and for hygienic practices for the dietary supplement compliance? Short answer: personal policy for cleanliness, infections, open lesions, and abnormal source of microbial contamination, instruction for reporting to supervisors, hygienic practices, PPEs or outer garment utilization policies, personal cleanliness, washing hands, foreign material controls, hair restraints, clothing and belonging storage, food and beverage policies, and other precautions against contamination. Hello again, PCQI, and thank you for joining us on this segment. In today's topic, we're going to be covering one of the GMP requirements for dietary supplement. Basically, let me read it off to you. It's what requirements apply for preventing microbial contamination from sick or infected personnel and for hygienic practices. For this segment, we're going to be referencing 21 CFR Part 111 for current good manufacturing practice in manufacturing, packaging, labeling, or holding operations for dietary supplements. For the references on the 21 CFR 111, I am including the link in of the guides and the Code of Federal Regulation on the description button, so please check that out. So on Subpart B, personnel, it says Section 111.8, what are the requirements under the Subpart B for written procedures? So before I start doing this, you're going to see me put some comments on it on here. So it says written procedures, right? So written procedures, they got to be written out. So, some people, they call them programs, they call them policies, or they call them procedures or SOPs. So like what we do for our clients, we do the PFL that I've talked about, program policy procedures or SOPs, and then forms for records, and then you have your lessons for your training materials or training materials, okay? So this part of the requirement, it already states that they got to be written out, okay? So when you put them written out, make sure they have a prepared by, reviewed by, and approved by, depending on your policy for your document control. If you need help on that, contact us info@consultaireinc.com or visit us at interlinkiq.com. We have all of these on there once you activate your food safety management software, should you wish, okay? You must establish and follow written procedures, okay? So that's basically what it says. Next step is what requirements apply for preventing microbial contamination from sick or infected personnel and for hygienic practices. So that's on 21 CFR 111.10, okay? So I'm going to read it. I'm going to read off the requirement and then the suggestions for our PCQI to apply. So the requirement is preventing microbial contamination. You must take measures to exclude from any operations any person who might be a source of microbial contamination due to a health condition, where such contamination may occur of any materials, including components of dietary supplements and contact surfaces used in the manufacture, packaging, labeling, or holding of dietary supplement. Such measures include the following, okay? So before I go there, so this is going to be your main program. So when you write this out, you're going to have your preventing microbial contamination program. So if you want to have that as a master one. And then next part of it, so let me read the next part. Such measures include the following: excluding from working in any operations that may result in contamination any person who, by medical examination, the person's acknowledgement or supervisory observation is shown to have or appears to have an illness, infection, open lesion, or any other abnormal source of microbial contamination that could result in microbial contamination of components, dietary supplements, or contact surfaces until the health condition no longer exists. So on this particular requirement, PCQI, what you're going to need to have is take a look at your forms, okay? So for this, you're going to have some health declaration forms, obviously, because, you have to have it by supervisory observation, medical examination, and personal acknowledgement, right? So on the health declaration form, the person's acknowledgement. So how do you record that? So you're going to have to prepare some sort of a statement. It doesn't have to be against HIPAA, right? So if you're familiar on the medical side, because we have a department that we do, medical compliance. So it doesn't have to be in that verbiage. And if you need help on that, let us know. And these are simple statement from the employee when they sign in, signages and things like that. So you're going to have some sort of a health declaration form because of the requirement that says the person's acknowledgement, okay? So your policy, you're going to take a look at that. If it's just a verbal, and then you need to record that, or you just basically don't deal with it, and you just tell them, please report to HR. If some big facilities that I've worked with, they have a health station. They actually have a medical person that's qualified there to administer first aid or things like that. It's kind of like a safety officer. But I know not everybody has those, but there are certain function for that is trainable to supervisors and managers, okay? So that's the first thing is if you're looking at compliance on a regulatory part of it, pay attention to these. And I put the link for this, guys and gals, right? So take a look at that as well. So on the compliance part of it is for HR, this is probably something that you need to look at your policy. If they were, if they are ill, right? I mean, we had, the COVID pandemic and all of these things, or certain aspect that they have some illness. Do you require them to be released by a doctor? So depending on, your states and policies and regulatory requirement on the local area, you might want to take a look at that. Okay, some do, some don't. And also depend on your HR policy, especially with PTO days and sick leave and things like that. So that's gonna, go side by side or synergize with your employee handbook and HR policies and whatnot. Made a note here because I've seen this, which is a great technique, because we know, our team, they have, it's their livelihood. They gotta work, right? And they might have some sniffles, or to your point, they have, they have some open lesions that are protected, and you can go over those policies of what that look like as we move forward. So they're not allowed to work in the production area, but they can help in the warehouse, or they can help outside, or other function that is away, or other functions that would protect, in this event, the dietary supplement from contamination. So it depends on your process, and if you want to implement that. But I've seen that in facilities. Because of the short staff, they just don't, send them home or ask them if they want to work in certain, status of their condition and whatnot. So moving forward, second part of it is instructing your employees to notify their supervisors if they have, or if there is a reasonable possibility that they have a health condition described in paragraph A1, which we described earlier, of this section that could result in microbial contamination of any components, dietary supplement, or any contact surfaces. So on this one, PCQI, you're going to need to have some forms, right? And some instructions or procedures for this. Remember the PFL that I've been mentioning. So you're going to have to put the forms together of, if this person reported to their supervisor, is there a checklist, a simple form? What does that look like? Does your supervisor need to sign off on them to basically send them to HR, or is HR going to do that? What is those forms that you need to fill out for that particular person, for that. So like I said, just get with HR for these type of reporting forms. Now, some of the team that I work with, I mean, they're small, right? Small as in, less than 10. In my opinion, and sometimes because they're lean managed that way, and these are just done simply with a logbook, and they simplify that. So during an audit, or an incident investigation, there's records of what happened. Okay. Next part is hygienic practices. If you work in an operation during which adulteration of the component, dietary supplement, or contact surface could occur, you must use hygienic practices to the extent necessary to protect against such contamination of components, dietary supplement, or contact surfaces. These hygienic practices include the following. 1. Wearing outer garments in a manner that protects against the contamination of components, dietary supplements, or any contact surface. PCQI, so what we're going to need to do here is prepare a policy or procedure for PPE. You're going to need to prepare the list of outer garments you're going to need for this. Are you going to need lab coats, sleeve protectors, and things like that? So you're going to start looking at that, and then you need to start putting together your donning procedure from starting from the top below. For that, we're going to create a video. Hopefully it'll reach you by the time this gets released. And then you can also go back to those. And if you don't have these type of procedures, you want us to cover it, please email us or subscribe, place a comment, and then we'll add it on there. So as they come up, you'll be notified. Okay. So that's part of it. So you got your donning procedures. Also create a hazard analysis for your hair restraints, right? Why do you need, because sometimes I go in, they said, well, we're doing this process here, and nobody has hair restraints, meaning, no hair net, or I'm always looking for a beard net, obviously because I have a beard, and if they don't have one that covers my beard, I put, I have a technique where I can use the hair one for my beard. And we'll do that on a different video. And also on the wearing of outer garments portion, part of this, what policy PCQI do you have for hoods? How they have the hoodie on and things like that. So because sometimes when I go other facility, they have those, they're authorized to be used on the line, or they're authorized to be used in storage areas only because it's cold, or maybe depending on your season, it's cold out there, and your team is wearing their lab coat, but they have a hoodie on. What is your policy for that? So that's something you need to take a look at. For me, they're contaminated, right? So if you're looking at my opinion for this, with open product, I personally, if I'm managing your line, I will not allow it. I would have them tuck it under their lab coat or their outer garment, right? Tuck it in and things like that. Because if you put it on, you don't know what was in it. There were dandruff or hair follicles or whatever that was on there because, they were at home. They might have a pet, cat, dogs, so you have all of those foreign materials, and then they fling it, right, on their head. And now you have all of those things just flying all over the place. So if you can have that policy also addressed, just in case you have an investigator walk in and they see it, and they might ask you, that you'll be able to answer that based on your hazard analysis. So make sure you prepare those. And if you need assistance on these, let me know, okay, or let our team know. And we prepare these every day for our clients to put together. Okay, so the other part of this one, so once you have that, maintaining adequate personal cleanliness, right? So this has always been, when doing a regulatory audit, when I ask for this type, I get a lot of answers, so a lot of them, says, well, we require our employees to basically take a shower at home. Don't show up smelling like alcohol or tobacco or your vape or excess perfume. So you see a lot of these policies and things like that. Contact us, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Thanks again, PCQIs. Have a good one.